Mr. Fraley, could you pronounce your name, please?
Spell it or pronounce it.
Both.
I changed my name from Fraley to Fraley. When I came to this country, they could not pronounce Frejlich. So I changed it so it will sound the same, but the spelling is different. Fraley. And the first name is Simon.
Where were you born?
I was born in Poland in Jędrzejów, near Kielce.
Could you spell the name of the town where you were born?
Jędrzejów, J-E with a hook, L. D-R-E-O-W, period.
And it's close to what big city?
Kielce. That's the state of Kielce. 100 kilometers from the German, 130 kilometers from German border. I lived there since I was 7 years of age. Then my parents moved to Katowice, heavy industry, near the German border, 8 kilometers from German border. I played soccer with German boys before the war, and I knew about Hitlerjugend. And when Hitler invaded Poland, I said there's no place for me to stay here because I know what they're going to do to the Jews, because before the war, they were sending the German Jews to Katowice, to our city, and I was carrying the baggage to the Jewish Gemeinde. You know what Gemeinde is? The Jewish Federation. And it was a sad story. In the meantime, before all this started, I was registered to go to Israel with Menachem Begin on the Aliyah Bet. We went to the Romanian border, Śniatyń. It's on Polish and Romanian border. We stayed there for 3 weeks. We waited for a ship to go to Palestine back then. And the war broke out, I had to go back. I came back to Jędrzejów, and in a few weeks the war broke out. And when the war broke out, I said there's no place for me to stay here with the Germans, and the Silesians. Very anti-Semitic, heavy industry, steel mills, coal mines, and my parents wanted me to go to Palestine back then. So they sent me as an apprentice to learn a trade. And they said I was always mechanically inclined. As a little boy, I messed around with the bicycles. So they sent me to an apprentice, and I was 3 years working for him. And they were very religious, my parents. Not very, but religious. We went every Friday and Saturday to the shul. And then when the war broke out, I said there's no place for me to stay in Katowice. So I went to Lvov with a cousin. Lvov was the city where the Russians took over. Across the Bug, Vistula and Bug. And the Russians wouldn't let us go across. They pushed us back and forth, back and forth. Finally, they decided we ain't going to go back to Germany. They locked us up. And they put us in jail, stayed about 2 or 3 weeks in jail, and then they let us loose to Lvov. That was Russia. And I found a cousin out there. He was in transportation, had trucks. And in Lvov, I didn't know nobody, but I found him, so he took me in there, and we lived with a Jewish family in Lvov. And they were very nice. I paid them the dues. I didn't have no money, so people needed parts for cars and things. And he knew somebody in the yard where the Russians confiscated the cars. He knew somebody who took off the parts. And I went out there, picked them up, and sold them. We had money. We lived high back then. And one day, the Russians drove up to the building and they said, "Давай вьехте." That means get you close together and put us on a truck. They took us back to between Moscow and Leningrad on a Volgostroy. They were making a canal from Leningrad, somewhere out there to the ocean or to the Moscow. I don't know where it went. We were cutting down trees. Hard work. And I got sick out there and I broke out with avitaminosa. My gum came loose. I didn't see at night. I got blind. When I looked at the light, I just saw a shine. In the daytime, I could see. So we were there 14 months. And the Germans were coming close to the place where we were working. They took us to Azerbaijan, past Baku. And they took me and put me in a factory where they had cotton gins. They knew I had registered as a locksmith. They knew I can do mechanical work. So I worked in a factory, changing the machinery to take off the cotton of the kernel. And I worked there maybe a year. I cannot remember exactly. And then they decided that the Germans getting close to Baku because Baku has neft, oil. So they took us away from there. They put us close to Baku is the Caspian Sea. The Caspian Sea took us to Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is the Mongolian place. All of Mongols, is Azerbaijanis, Kyrgyzs, Uzbekis, all these people. He went 4 weeks with the train till the end of the railroad. No more railroad. They put us on trucks. And then we drove about maybe a half a day till a big farm. They called it Sovkhoz. It's a big farm. And it was warm, so I worked in the blacksmith shop. I was blacksmith and locksmith and all this. And when winter came, I had it made. I was in the blacksmith shop. It was warm. And I made the norm. You know, in Russia, you had to make a norm. You had to make so much and so much to get enough bread and soup and things. And over there, I was living, I had fine. They gave me a lot of food. But when I got there from Kirovabad was the city where I worked on the cotton gins. When I came from Kirovabad, it was warm. And then when it turned cold, I didn't have no clothes. And they came to me and they said, "Why don't you go to work?" I said, "If you're going to walk in the snow barefoot, I walk behind you." There was a Jewish nachalnik. He gave me some clothes, and I worked, and I had clothes. And I worked till it turned warm again. It was cold, 60 below. 60, and the wind chill probably 20. Very cold. The water in the kitchen was frozen in the glass. Then I worked about a season, one summer and then one winter, and then they sent us back to Moscow. In Moscow, we built the Bolshoya Moskovskaya Zeleznaya Doroga. That means a railroad around Moscow, a big railroad around Moscow. It wasn't so bad, wasn't too good out there, but it was fine. I had a friend, and the friend had a sister. She was a big communist in Poland, a Jewish lady. And they formed a Polish army from Moscow, 30 kilometers, Ryazan, the city and the friend told me, if you want to escape from here, I'll let my sister know, because he got in touch with his sister. He was in camp with me together, but then when he came back on the railroad, he found out the sister is in Moscow, and I was lucky. I found a Russian woman doctor, and she would do anything for me. So I said, I cannot see good. I got to go to an eye doctor to Moscow. In Russia, you can travel without a permit. So she gave me permit. So I went to Moscow. I found out exactly where the Polish headquarters. And I went over there, and they knew all about it. There was a truck out there. They put me on the truck and take me in the army, put a uniform on me. I was a Polish soldier. From then on, I fought from White Russia, from Minsk, all the way back to Praga. Polish Praga Praga is a city before Warsaw, just like Brookhaven and Atlanta. And then let me recall I'm getting ahead of myself. And
what year you were born?
1918, August 1, 1918.
So how old were you when
21.
you were 21?
I was ready to go in the army when the war broke out. But they didn't make it because the Germans invaded so fast, so everything went kaput with the Polish army.
And you said you became an apprentice?
An apprentice in Poland,
What kind of...
locksmith. I was always mechanical inclined as a kid.
And what was the year when you were in Lvov?
Lvov was 1913, at end of 1939 and 40.
Was Lvov called Lvov in those
Lvov is Lemberg in German, in Yiddish. Lemberg is Lvov. That's the main city of a state.
And
There was a lot of Ukrainians out there too.
you use the word nachalnik?
Nachalnik is a officer, a big shot,
So
Jewish guy.
you were saying that you became a serviceman for the Polish army,
A soldier,
a soldier.
yeah.
Did that battalion have a special name?
Yeah.
What was the name of that battalion?
PTR, Protiv Tankowe Orужие. That means against tanks. I had a rifle 6 or 7 feet long, 2 guys carrying it. You were knocking off the track of the tanks in the front line.
Where were you stationed?
In the army in
Yes.
Poland. It was in Poland.
Okay.
It was near Warsaw. It was I can't think of the name in English. I'll tell you in a minute. In Polish, it's a twierdza, just like a base, but you couldn't go through. The wall was big.
A fort?
A fort, right, the fort. And I stayed there, and they made me an officer. Of course, when we were coming from Russia back to the Modlin. Modlin was the name of the fort. I was on the front line, and we trying to go across the Wisla to push the Germans away. So they knew I can swim. They put me on a paddle boat, maybe with 20 guys, or I think it was 2, I can't remember, 2 paddle boats maybe. And we got on the water, and we were going slowly, quiet, and that was in August. And the water was low. We thought you already on the other side. We started attacking. Hurrah! And the German opened fire. We didn't know where to go because more water. In the middle of the Vistula was an island. So we dug in, and we stayed there all day. I was shot at, and I was lucky. Anyway, and then the officer knew that I can swim. He said, swim back and report to the headquarters that we were stuck here. And it was the next day. We laid all day, all night, and the next day, and then he told me to go back and report to the headquarters that we stuck here. So I did. And when you swim in the water where the water runs, you want to swim this way, you wind up way down somewhere else. So they hollered at me. Raise your arms. They thought I'm a German. I said, no, I'm from this and this unit, and we got stuck here, and they took me to the headquarters, and I reported it to the headquarters what happened. So next day, I slept. They gave me to sleep the whole day so I could be arrested. Next day, they gave me another guy who could swim from our unit. We went across and got out 3 times, 3 loads of on the paddle board. The guys were stuck on the island, and we came back, and I saved them all. Then when we came back to Poland, one officer called my name out, and they gave me a paper, Vir tutti militari. You know what that is? There's Medal of Honor. The paper, I didn't see it, never the medal. Anyway, when I came back to Poland, after the war, I already was an officer. In Modlin, they taught me to be officer. When I came back to Poland, I went to Katowice, to my city, and I found guys what I knew. They were very afraid of the Poles. They told me how it is. And I went back to they sent me to get some recruits from Częstochow, bring in to Modlin. New soldiers, Polish guys. So I went a couple times. The 3rd time I said, this time I'm going to disappear. So I came back to Katowice, and I found some guys who went with me to Germany, who wanted to go across the border to the German side, to the American side. And I took off the uniform, I threw them away, and I went over the other side. And I even met a lady who lived in Atlanta, Mrs. Wolf. She died a couple of years ago. And she was in charge of the camp, DP camp. I didn't have nothing. But the way from Poland to the American zone wasn't so easy. We went to Praga, Czechoslovakia, and the Russians were there. They said, everybody out of the train. Where are you going? And I knew. Some people told me, get a bottle of vodka. And I got a bottle of vodka, and I got out of the side, and I went to the machinist, and I gave him the vodka, and he put me in the cold, and I went on the other side. And my things I lost in the train. I didn't take the things because I thought I'm going to go back later. I didn't know where I'm going. Anyway, and I got on the other side without clothes, without nothing. And Mrs. Wu, the name was of the city in the American zone was Spandorf. She was in charge with her husband. He died too here maybe years ago. So they gave me some clothes. Then I found out my sisters lived through the war. From friends, you saw a lot of people. And my sister came to see me in the American zone. And I worked for the American Army, 6th Army Division. I was changing tires, and I had a uniform like a soldier. I helped myself anyway. And she came, and then I didn't like the place out there. It was a too little town. I didn't know nobody, just Germans. So we went to Salzheim. Salzheim was the DP camp, close to Frankfurt. Frankfurt in Wiesbaden. There's a lot of Jewish guys out there. Matter of fact, I know some of them right here. I even met a lady who went with Aliyah Bet. to Palestine back then too. She was on the same transport. Her name was Regina Oxenhandler. She lives in New York somewhere. I saw her on my wedding. Anyway, so where was I?
You went to the second BT camp.
Yeah, with my sister, and she had a boyfriend from the camp. They were living up there, and I stayed there with them. And I was traveling from Bergen, Belgium to Frankfurt, back and forth. I had a friend out there. I knew him from Poland, and he had a bar, a canteen. So I worked for him. I helped him out. I played soccer. Was already Jewish kids, and I was playing soccer for a while. And then I went back to Frankfurt, and I met my wife. The way I met my wife, she lived in the same complex where my sister's boyfriend. So I was there for a while, and after that I was registered to come on to America. I wound up in Atlanta.
Tell me a little more about how you met your wife. How was it?
She didn't want to stay in Poland after with her sister. She has a sister too. So she found out that my sister's boyfriend is in Salzheim, so she came to see him so she can escape from the Russian side. It was Russia then, yeah. From the Russian side to the American side. So she came to see her and met her there. And we were dating and all that.
What did you do when you were dating in those days? What?
What I was doing, black marketing.
Dating. What was involved in dating in those days, in those circumstances?
It wasn't like here now, go to bed. No, you couldn't do it. Not with a Jewish girl. But I loved her, she loved me, we fell in love. And now we have 2 kids. You know it.
Tell me about your wedding.
The wedding? My sister's wedding, I had to go to Bergen, Belgium to buy some canned goods to put together a wedding. So I went to Bergen, Belgium. Over there it was easier to buy canned goods. So I brought those canned goods to Frankfurt. There was more to it. They stopped me and I talked my way out of it. They let me through on the railroad.
In what year did you get married?
1947.
And how old were you at that time?
Well, you figured out, I think 30, 29, 30, 31, something like that.
Where did you live before you came here and after you got married?
We came straight from Bremerhaven to New Orleans.
Did you have a child?
Yes, we had. Phyllis was 1 year old. On her birthday, we came to Atlanta on the 28th of December. This is when her birthday is. And Mrs. Zwecker was back then a single. Her name was Goldberg. She lives here in Atlanta. And she picked us up off the railroad, and she took us in a house on Far Road in Decatur. We lived there maybe a year, I don't remember exactly. Then they, what was the mayor, the Jewish mayor? Marcel. He had a building on 11th Street, and they put us, another family came together with us, a few more families. As a matter of fact, 4 or 5 families lived in this building, newcomers. We lived in this building close to a year, maybe more, maybe less, I cannot remember all that. But I worked for a locksmith. She took me to a place, she knew I'm a locksmith. I told her my profession, not profession, my trade. So she took me to C.C. Downs Safe and Lock Company on Prior Street. Was back then, they were the biggest. So when I came back, worked there, couldn't speak English. There was a guy, a little deaf, and he thought he can talk louder, I can understand. So when he spoke to me, I don't know what he's saying. Anyway, that was a part of that. And then they made me clean a basement for $25 a week from Monday to Friday, from 8 to 6 for $25 a week. I worked there maybe 3 months. And I said, this is no business for me. So there was a wholesale guy from Jacksonville. His name is Katz, a Jewish guy. And I told him in Yiddish, tell the guy to give me a raise because I ain't working for $25 a week.
Could you say in Yiddish what you just said in English? How did you say it in Yiddish?
Also man geben mein Geld der Woche, ich kann nicht leben von dem Geld. And he told him, and they said, I'm going to get $30 a week, but the first week you get $27.50, and the next week you get 30. Okay, los azoi.
Who helped you come to America? What
The
organization?
Jewish Federation, the joint, they called it, the joint, Jewish joint.
And why did you go to New Orleans?
I didn't go to New Orleans. They said Atlanta is a good city for the Jewish Federation, knew, the Americans, that this town is good for locksmith. They need. Matter of fact, when I came to Atlanta, there was maybe 4 locksmiths in the whole city. So I was busy.
Did you arrive here with a child?
We moved to Atlanta straight from New Orleans, and I stayed there till this day.
But why did you go to New Orleans?
There was a military boat by name General Sturgis. Everybody came on the same boat. With some more families, not everybody, but the ones with me. Matter of fact, Mr. Klug just died a few months ago. He was on the same boat with me too. And they said Atlanta is a good city for a locksmith, so I came to Atlanta. I didn't know no more about Atlanta than I know about the moon. I didn't know a thing about Atlanta, but where they sent me, I went. I was used to go where they tell me to. Do I know anything? I don't know nothing. Couldn't speak the language. I worked for C.C. Downs 3 weeks. Then I walked down the street and I saw another locksmith, and I told him I spoke a little bit English already. I wasn't a deadhead anyway. So I explained to him I'm a locksmith from Europe and this and that. They hired me. They gave me right away $50 a week. $50 was already a good get, nice, make a living then. So, and I worked there with a guy who had a aunt. Her husband died. He was a locksmith in Buckhead. The name of the company was Atlanta Safe and Lock Works. So he said, her husband died, and her son is a drunk, and she wants to sell. I had $1,100. I had more than $1,100. I brought a couple thousand, maybe $3,000 from Germany. So I said, let's go buy the thing. He didn't have no money. That guy, he said he wants to be a partner with me. So I worked with him a while. He didn't want to work on Saturday. And Saturday was a busy day, you know, and he went fishing. So I said, this got to quit. So we opened another shop in Brookhaven. Brookhaven is not too far from Buckhead. And I stayed there a while, and I found a house, a brand new house for $4,200, I think. A brand new frame house was standing on stilts. And the neighbors liked me out there, and they came to visit, and I covered up the bottom and looked good. And we liked the house for a while, and we stayed there, I think, 3.5 or 4 years in this house. Then I found a house on Anita Place. I forgot the address. Anita Place is right off of Briarcliff. A nice brand new house, brick. Kunyansky was building it. I bought a house there in Phyllis. We didn't want to stay in Brookhaven because we wanted Phyllis to go more Jewish kids. Nobody there was no Jewish kids, just, oh yeah. Anyway, so we moved to the new housing. As a matter of fact, Alterman, the one from the Henny Penny, they had 5 or 6 brothers. Yeah, 5 brothers. Lived right next to me. They came to visit us, and the kids played. Phyllis played with them. So she was among Jewish kids and went to school on what's the name of the school? You know, I forgot the name of the school. No. Pola. I think of it. I forgot the name of the street. I'm old. I'm 83. I can't remember everything. Anyway, she went to school out there, and she turned out pretty good. Then she went to college. Then I bought this house here, and I'm staying here.
In what year did you buy this house?
I think it's 33 years ago. I can look up the papers. I remember everything.
Let's go back to your business.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, one more thing. About the business, I stayed with this guy, and I saw that he's not a guy to stay in business. He wants to go fishing. He was at Michigan, he said. You know what a Michigan is. So he didn't care. I bought right away a brand new car from CNS for $1,840, a brand new Chevy. And then I bought another one. I went to New York, with my sister in the car. Anyway, I did good in Buckhead. Then I went for a few years in the grocery business. I didn't like it. My wife talked me into going in the grocery business. They're making good money. I said, I have a trade. I don't want to stay in the grocery business.
what did you do in the grocery business?
At a small grocery store, the black people loved me. They were body with me. They even came to my new shop in Lenox Square to visit me. So Simon, Victor.
Where was your grocery business?
My grocery business on Pryor Road, next to Carver Homes. That's a big government project.
What was the name of the store?
My store was Carver's Market. Yeah, and I stayed there 5 years to the day, and I saved every week $100. 5 years, I saved $25,000. Back then, it was a lot of money. So when I went to transfer myself to my own trade, I heard that they built a big shopping center in Lenox Square. And Lenox Square was something special. Rich's, Davison, J.P. Allen, and all these good stores. So I stayed, and I didn't have a building like everybody else. They built a little key booth on the sidewalk. And Mr. Ritchie, Dick Rich, Jewish, he didn't like that. He said that this got to go. I had a lease. They gave me a lease for 3 or 4 or 5 years. I think it was 3 years. And they said after the lease, you'll be out, Simon, you got to go. Because Dick Rich wants you to out of here. I said, I got a lease, so 3 years I'm going to stay the rest of the lease. And the manager of Lenox Square, he was a nice guy. And he couldn't stomach this. And he went to his office, to Rich's office. He's not alive anymore. And he said, this guy is a survivor. You go and tell him to move out. I ain't going to tell him. I haven't got the heart to get him to move out. He just moved in and he spent money on setting up a shop, and you want him to move out. So he just forgot about it. And I stayed there 37 years, longer than anybody from all the new tenants. I outlast them all.
Where exactly on the mall was your...
Right next to the S&S cafeteria, on the bottom. the SNS is not there anymore. Then they changed hands. Piccadilly, there was quite a few years there, right next to me.
But was it a booth?
A booth, 6 by 8, 6 feet by 8 feet, made out of plywood.
Did it have a name?
Yeah, Lennox Lock and Key. I gave the name right away. Then after a while, I was there a few years, and I said I got to get it bigger. So they built one out of a rock. I mean, I got pictures of him. I'm gonna find them and give them to you. And whew. Of all the things on the sidewalk, the new shop was 6 by 8, 8 by 10, little bigger foot, a couple here foot, and a couple foot there. Anyway, they had to put in a post to hold up a bridge right in my shop of all the tourists. I had not enough place. So anyway, I had to do what I could. I stayed there. And then I decided that I think engraving is a good business. I bought an engraving machine, a small one. Then I bought a bigger one. And then they moved me inside the building. And then I had a computer engraver. It was big time business in Lenox Square. And I had customers till this day. The girl worked for us, she still uses the same customers because my son didn't like the business.
What happened? When did you sell the business?
I gave it to my son. You know what my son did? He was there quite a few years. And then he closed it up. I got the tools all in the basement. He didn't want to sell nothing. I still got them. Till a couple of years ago, I used to do a little work here and there. Now I'm getting too old. I cannot see good. You know how it is. When you get 83,
You mentioned your son. Let's talk about your children.
yes,
You have a daughter.
Phyllis Fraley. She's a public relation consultant.
And where
And
was she born?
She was born in Germany 1 year before we moved over here. We came to America, to Atlanta on a hairboard stay.
And so that's Phyllis.
That's Phyllis.
And
And
then
Steve was born 1955. And he was a good kid. He played baseball and he was active, and I went with him to the games, the little league games. And we had a ball. I lived fine.
and your son is married.
My son is married, and I got a grandchild, about a year old, not quite yet, maybe 10 months, I think.
What is the name of your son is,
Stephen Fraley.
and your daughter-in-law?
My daughter-in-law is Marian.
It's Fraley now.
She's Fraley now, yeah.
And
She's from South Carolina.
what about your granddaughter? What's her name?
Shayna. And she's a Shayna.
After whom did you name your children? Who is Phyllis named after?
Phyllis is my mother was Sarah. Phyllis Sarah Fraley. And Phyllis, I think, is my mother's somebody. And somebody from my mother's side is Phyllis. Her aunt and her mother, I forgot. I don't know what to ask her.
And Stephen is named?
Steve is named after my father. Samuel and Stephen on the verdreit. Turn it around. They know Shmuel in English, a name. So a neighbor on the other house I used to live on, another place, she said, give him the name Steve. Steve and Shmuel is the same. I said, okay, that's it. He wind up with this name. He's happy.
Do you remember how
The Jewish Federation was terrific. They took care of us. And they found a job, Mrs. Zwecker. She went to C.C. Downs with me, and she arranged everything, and I went to work. And I drove by bus from Decatur every day. But I was young, I didn't care.
Did people ask?
But
Did anyone ever ask you when you first arrived?
yeah,
what you had
they
to-
knew we were from Europe.
But did they want to hear your story?
Some of them did, some of them didn't, some of them didn't care. They knew that I am a survivor, that's all.
And how did you feel about what you had been through?
I felt when I came to America that I don't have to put up with no anti-Semitism. Going to school every day and fight, throwing rocks, in Polish, Jew is Żyd. And they always, wherever you go, damn Żyd, damn Żyd. Like the Germans, wars.
Did you tell your children your story?
They know. Phyllis know everything.
Did you tell them your story when they were little?
Not when they're little. Matter of fact, Phyllis we were going in the car the other day, and I told her stories what I went through during the war and things, but I never told anybody because nobody would believe it that I survived all this. I was on the front line a couple of years and I didn't get a scratch, and some people came the first day and got killed. Yeah. I had some run-ins here too with some anti-Semitism.
You did?
I had a customer here one time, and I think he was German, and I left the job and I didn't do the job. I took off and forget about it. I didn't want to finish the job. I'd go
What
back.
happened? What did he say to you?
He started acting like a richtige anti-Semit. You don't have to tell me twice. I can feel you out in a minute how he started acting. So I left the job. I went on jobs to homes to repair things, locks and things. But it happened not too many times. Most American people are great people. You cannot say everybody is great, but on the whole, they're very good people. They understand what we went through. And some of them are very sympathetic. And some of them don't care. I send a neighbor right there. He's a nice guy, but she's.
Was it easy or hard to make friends within the Jewish community?
It wasn't hard. We had a community with the newcomers. We went to Piedmont Park. Piedmont Park back then was just white folks. But I don't care. White, black, they're nice. I like black people. I don't have a thing against them. And I just communicate with anybody who's treating me nice. I treat him better.
What else did you do
But
with your friends?
what else? We had parties, we had the chasanas, we had bar mitzvahs, we had all kinds of things. Every once in a while, this one made the party, went and danced over there. And we were young people. We were busy. Now is everybody's quiet, old.
You said that when you had the grocery store, you had a very good relationship with the black people. in the
Very good,
neighborhood.
very good.
Why did they like you?
I don't know, they just like Simon. When they come to the shop, they need a Coca-Cola. I gave them a Coke. They need on the bus. Back then, I think a dime or 15, or I forgot what. It was so long ago. So I gave them for the bus. But it makes no difference. I helped out if I could. They, matter of fact, they held up everybody around me. Everybody around me was held up, but this guy wasn't held up. I always have somebody watching me. They liked me a lot. They came to Lenox Square. Simon, oh, what the heck are you doing here? You should have stayed there. I said, well, I'm going to change the trade.
What Jewish organizations did you join?
I was in Betar, Jabotinsky,
That was
in Poland. In here, Jewish organizations, whatever it was, not organizations, but you know, we went to meetings and things.
Did you join a Holocaust survivor
Yeah,
organization?
yeah. And matter of fact, I spent when they built the monument. I was one of the first gave. The list is still there. I don't want to say how much I gave, but I gave more than the rich ones.
Why did you do that?
Because I'm that way. I don't care. I know I'm going to make a living. I knew I'm going to make a living. I wasn't afraid I'm going to starve to death. I didn't squeeze the dollar.
Did you join a synagogue?
Sure. Sheretz Israel. I've been in Sheretz Israel since maybe 50-some years. 51, 50, 49, I can remember. A long time ago, half a century. I'm here 53 years.
When did you go to the synagogue?
I went to the synagogue when I came over here often. And now, I don't think it is.
How come?
What I went through, what I saw, the Hitler killed the rabbis, and the kids, and the women, and the Rabbi in the Shiloh, he didn't do a thing. I'm skeptical.
Could you translate what Rabbi Shalom means?
God Almighty. God Almighty.
So you feel
I'm confused, very confused. Inside my heart, when I was a younger, I believed in God 100%. Now, I'm not so sure. I'm telling you the truth, just like it is. I think when you treat your other fellow like you want to be treated, that's all you're required to do. And the rest is up to you. I never cheated one person in business for one nickel. But I was cheated. But I'm not going to mention this.
What kinds of things do you like to do these days?
I tell you the truth, I don't know. I want to stay healthy with my wife and the kids and see how my grandchild going to grow up. Things like that. And traveling, I'm not too healthy to travel. I used to travel when I was young. I went to Florida every year, went places. Matter of fact, I drove to New York by car in 1952, from Atlanta to New York and back. I wasn't afraid to go places. I loved it.
We're going through some difficult times these days.
Oh yeah, terrible times.
What do you think? What do we have ahead? What is the
What?
meaning of all this?
Meaning, if I would know what the meaning, I'd be somebody. Nobody knows, but at the end, the terrorism going to go, because when America steps in, they go for good. They're not playing around. You just have to take time. This is not the army against the army. They're hiding out in holes and things.
What should we be doing?
What we should do? Well, they're already doing the right thing. What they started.
What are your thoughts on Israel?
on Israel. We have to have Israel, period. Because if we don't have a father, just like kids don't have a father, it gets here and there, Israel is our home. America is our home and Israel is our home. America is everybody's home. They let everybody come here and make a living if you abide by the law. But we didn't, before the war, we didn't have anything. Nobody took us for us. As a matter of fact, the Britain would have let us into Israel. I would be in Israel, not for the Britain. They had a mandate. They had to blow up the King David Hotel for them to get lost. Now they're okay. You giving up?
How did you find out what happened to your family after the war?
I came from, we marched from White Russia all the way and fought in the front line all back to Poland. When I came back to Poland, I saw there's nothing there. My parents were gone. The janitor lived in our house, and I saw my sofa where I was sleeping on. We had a kitchen downstairs, and on the fourth floor we had a bedroom. It was hard to get apartments in this Katowice, in the city. And the Silesians were big Gentiles. They had, just like you hear about Poznań, Poznańczyków, they are the worst. They are the same. I think that the Ukrainians, the White Russians, and the Poles are the worst Gentiles. They're worse than the Germans. Some Germans were good people. Matter of fact, my wife survived. When the war broke out, I was running away from Katowice by foot. And an army truck, German soldiers stopped and took me on the truck, gave me to eat hard-boiled eggs, and took me where I want to go. Now, I don't know if they knew I'm Jewish or not. They probably didn't. You have good people everywhere.
I want to go back in time and talk a little bit about your life in Katowice before the war. What was it like?
It was okay. I went to school. I played soccer most of the time. I tore up more shoes than anybody in the world. And I played with German kids and Polish kids. We spoke both languages, German and Poland. And I spoke perfect German. Matter of fact, I met some here in the club, a lady from Germany. We got along fine.
What kind of work did your father do?
My father, they had a wholesale poultry and eggs. They delivered to restaurants. I was a delivery boy. Had a bicycle with a bag in front, and I delivered. I delivered to the rabbi.
Do you remember on what street you lived?
Yeah, Dąbrowskiego Pole. Katowice, Dąbrowskiego 4. 4 is Pole.
And how big was your family?
I had 3 sisters and I was the only son. Yeah. One of them, my older sister, she finished college. She had a degree. She was a shorthand in a factory, shoe factory. And when the war broke out, she got married. I knew her husband, seen him before. They got married, they had a child when the war broke out. Now, I wasn't there no more. I was on the Russian side. They all went to the concentration camp.
So who were the survivors in your family?
Me and my Felice, and my sister, Pola.
She survived.
She survived and she died in New York a few years ago. She got sick. I had maybe 20 operations, major ones, and I'm still here. You want to see?
If you can just tell me.
I was cut open from here to here maybe 4 or 5 times.
What do you want to tell at this moment your children and your grandchild and generations to come
Well,
based on your life experiences?
we have to have Israel for all costs. Period. Without a father, you haven't got nothing. And Israel is our father, our homeland. The Palestinians didn't even have a government before Israel was voted to be a country. Nowadays, they want to too. They have where to go. There's plenty of Arabian countries out there. And I don't trust the Saudis at all.
What do you want to say to your granddaughter Shane?
What I want to see, I like to see her grow up.
What do you want to tell her? Say something to her.
I want her to first go to school and be educated and be a good girl. That's all.
Could you just tell us briefly what raising your children in America was like? Were you happy to be able to raise your children in America?
I was very happy to raise my children in America. They were equal. They didn't. There's a big difference in Europe and Poland and in America. You're human. Over there, they treat you like a third class, not a second class. I don't have nothing for Poland. I fought for them, and I laid my life on the line, and I went to Poland, came back to Poland. I saw they were killing Jews after the war in Kielce, a program, and I said, I was an officer, and I had virtute militari to get it. I had the papers. You know how I lost the paper? When I was escaping from Poland, from the army, I was a deserter. I was afraid to have the paper on me. And they stopped me, they asked me what it is, and they're going to turn me in, a deserter. Get the bullet in his head. Matter of fact, in Russia, when we were coming from Russia back to Europe, to Poland, there was a Jewish guy that was, he deserted the army, and I was there when they shot him. I talked to him before they shot him. I said, you shouldn't do that. I think his name was Teitelbaum, I remember. Yeah, he was locked up, and I had duty to watch him. And I said, I cannot help you.
Why did you survive?
Sheer luck and tough. I was tough. I marched 400 kilometers by foot with another guy carrying that rifle in full, how you call it?
Backpack?
Yeah. Everything a soldier needs. I carried on me 400 kilometers. I slept in the ditch, in snow, you name it. I was so damn tired. I couldn't even walk no more. But I made it. Tall, big guys, they folded up, they took him on the truck. I made it to Warsaw, to Prague. And this is the honest truth.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Could you tell me your name, please?
Pola Fraley
And where were you born?
in Poland, Sosnowiec.
What do you remember about your wedding?
It was my wedding. It was a disaster.
Why so?
Was no wedding dress. I had to borrow one from somebody. There was no money. And there was a little bit music, a little bit friends. There's one room, but we got married. Thank God we did.
Where was that?
This was in Germany.
Sounds like.
What did you like about your husband that you decided to marry him?
Well, I was by myself, of course, and we just happened, he just looks like a nice man. We just liked each other.
How old were you at the time?
I was at, 20, in the early 20s.
22, 3.
Something. I was a teenager when they took me to the concentration camp, so I was there 3.5 years. So I was in the early 20s. And he was about
I'm 5 years older.
4 years older.
4, 5. I'm counting no days.
Now, you got pregnant?
No, not right away.
When did you get pregnant?
Phyllis was born in 55.
48.
Excuse me, 48. Steve was born in 55. So.
December
What,
28, 1948.
December, yeah.
what was it like in those circumstances to be expecting?
A child was just a miracle that you could get pregnant and you could have a child.
We have a picture from Phyllis when she was that little.
I have a lot
I
of
will
pictures.
give it to
Sometime
you.
I'm going to show you all the pictures when she was a year old. Now you look at her. I'm very proud of her. And of Steve too. Have 2 wonderful children and a wonderful husband.
Thank you.
What was it like raising your 2 children when you came to America?
Right away I didn't have 2, I had 1. Had a rough time. And somehow I tried to do my best, you know. I
She
did try
helped
to
me
do
a
my
lot in
best.
business.
And it wasn't easy. When she was little and she was born in Germany, she was a year when we came over here. The 27th, I think, we came to New Orleans. The 28th, she was born. So,
We came by train from New Orleans over here.
so it wasn't easy. I took care of her, of course, and I have a picture. I have him over there, right when she was born, and I had a picture with Simon going shopping for her, because I didn't have anything for her to wear. Even I left the baby in the hospital, and I went shopping. So I have a picture. I was looking for the pictures all the time while you were interviewing him. So I thought this picture I have to show you. Wearing coats, was cold, December. So
Did you also work?
work at plenty. I had a husband and a child to take care of.
She didn't have a job.
In the
She was-
beginning. I worked plenty in the concentration camp, and after that I worked too. I didn't have any help, and Simon had a job, and he didn't make much money, and we had to make a living somehow. I think we got a few months, weeks. They helped us out, the Federation, with a few dollars maybe. I don't remember this.
They gave us where to live, and
Yeah.
we were here maybe 2 weeks or 3, and I went to work for C.C. Downs.
Right. But I think they helped us with, with
Yeah,
where
that-
to live.
Yeah.
They gave us and the cater a room. I have even a picture of that. I will show you one of these days. And with the other family, two families in
They're both
in
there.
one little house, and they, sorry they are dead, they were nice people. And we lived over there for a while, and then we had to move somewhere else.
Lem
It
Street.
wasn't
Lem
easy.
Saint Marcel's building.
So the thing is, we didn't have to pay rent. They gave us a home and furnished a little bit, and Simon had a job for $25 a week. So, right? Right? So I had to manage somehow because there was no money.
She always had a good meal when I came home, no matter what.
Well, chicken. They were not expensive, you know, and somehow I fixed a meal. It was
I think it was
was
19 cents a
hard.
pound.
whatever it was. He had something to eat. He had the sandwiches, same sandwich every day he took to work. I can remember like now.
I had a
Hard-boiled
sandwich
eggs.
with eggs, bread, and mayonnaise.
No, I don't.
That's about it,
Whatever
huh?
it was, and then sardines.
Yeah, sardines.
Every day the same thing. Now he still eats it.
When did things get easier financially?
He wanted to be his trade was he wanted to be a locksmith or work with keys or with locks and a mechanic or whatever. This is what he did before, and so I think the Federation did tell him about where to go.
Mrs. Wecker.
Mrs.
Back
Wecker.
then was
Yeah.
Miss Goldberg. She took me to CC Downs.
Yeah.
I told you the story.
Do you know Mrs. Wecker? You don't know?
She's a very nice person.
Very nice person, and she told him to go in a certain place,
She took me there.
or she took him over there,
I couldn't.
and he had a job. He had a job for what, $25?
$25 a week.
Something like
And
that.
then they gave me 30, but not right away.
But not right away. He came home happy, and he said, they gave me a raise. Guess what? $2.50. But this week they didn't give it to me. I have to wait till next week or whatever, sometime this month. But that's the way it was, and we had to do the best what we could, you know.
But at some point things improved.
Yes, they did improve because I said to my husband that everybody has a grocery store. So why don't you just, let's open a grocery store. But it wasn't that much money. And we took a loan. Is it right?
No, I had my money.
For what was
The
the
Hevre Telem, you know Hevre
Hevre
Telem, you
Telem.
heard about him? They lent me part of it. That was
Right.
a Jewish.
Right.
The Neverland Society. The Free Loan Society.
They gave me a loan and I paid them back right away.
Maybe what, $10 a month, a week?
Something like
Something
that.
like that.
Anyway, I paid off
Yeah.
the store and
It wasn't easy. I have all the things, I would prepare them, but if I would know that you're going to ask me this,
For
I have
the-
all the, I ran into the other day what we paid every week or month. I remember $10 it was.
comparable to Europe, it was heaven.
Oh, yeah. So you have a grocery store, you have more, you know.
5
you can
years.
just, but the thing is that he didn't want anymore because he got tired. Someone's not that tired to sit all day in a grocery store. So, of course, I did help him in the grocery store. And later, after that, he went, we had it for 5 years. We paid off everything what we owed, things like that. And later he said he wants to go back to his trade. And he had an American guy, and they opened a shop. So, for how long, I don't remember, you have the shop with him.
5 years.
5 years, something like that. the shop.
Atlanta Safe and Lock Works, I told you.
Right. And then he quit that because he wanted to have off Saturday and he wanted to have off Sunday.
My partner,
and
not
the
me.
partner, and it didn't work out. So he just split.
What about your activities at that time? You were a mother,
Everything.
taking care of the
You name it,
children.
and I was. I had no help because it was expensive help. And
Did you have
I
any
worked
free
hard.
time?
and not really, because children, till they don't raise themselves. You have to help them. They get sick, and doctors and all kind of things. And I had no help. Simon's not the one who he can help a lot with it. He doesn't. He's a good man, but he doesn't know much about children or cooking or helping in the kitchen. He's not this kind of
I
type.
did what I could. That's all.
It.
What
So-
about your social life? How did-
Social life wasn't too good because you have to take care of the family, and I couldn't really leave everything or with somebody and go to a movie or to go to have a good time because I wouldn't trust the children to nobody.
Oh no, not
I
her.
I have to stay with them and take care of them. And Simon did too. We both did.
Did you have help with the
Sometimes
Not in the beginning, I didn't. When they got a little bit bigger, so I did need some help because I had to help Simon a little bit, in his business and this and that. And but it didn't. I wasn't happy with it, really. I wanted to take care of them by myself, and
she didn't trust me.
I didn't trust them really.
Did you
So-
join any
I didn't join.
women's?
I didn't join nowhere. I just
They
had hard work
play
all the
bingo
years.
once a week.
That's all
all
the
the
enjoyment.
green
We went sometimes to a movie. Then my sister came
We
from
used to
New
go
York.
to a movie often.
Yes, but that's the only enjoyment what we had. We went to a movie to see sometime. And where I left the children, my sister came from New York. She also was there, and he got sick, and they were living on unemployment. And I told her to come here to open a grocery store, and everything is going to be, okay.
When you
So
were
she took care, When we left, she was with the children. When she left, we stayed with the children.
what's your sister's name?
Jean Greenbaum. You want to interview her too? But it doesn't make any difference. But her husband died
Passed
a long
away
time,
years
passed
ago.
away a long time ago.
Maybe 35, 40 years
So,
ago.
When you were raising your children,
yeah.
what kind of people were you hoping they would become?
Nice people, good people, of course. I tried my best. And,
It turned out great.
and I'm really happy the way they are, really. Steve is a nice grown man now, and Phyllis is unbelievable. I'm really proud of her. I couldn't help her much, really. We couldn't, we couldn't help her, not financially, but what she has to do and to accomplish in life, things like
Well-
others do. She did everything on her own. She couldn't really expect much, really.
She was dressed nice and she had everything a
I-
kid wants, but
Right.
we weren't Americans and we didn't know.
This
The language, how to teach him, how to help him out in school.
this was the first thing what I always did, try to give him, not to be behind. They had nice clothes, and I want them to feel just like American people here.
What about their Judaism?
And they believe, they just like we are. We believe in what we did see at home, what we listened, and really they do.
How do you feel about your Judaism?
I feel very much just like my parents did. They believed in God, and they were nice people, and went to shul, and this what was
They
our
had a
home.
kosher butcher shop.
Right. Come give me a, excuse me.
Handkerchief?
handkerchief. I got the blood of my nose for some reason. Excuse me.
I got it. Just let me dig it out.
So,
I think I do.
I tried all
I
the...
don't have one.
No. I tried
I'll
all
bring
the...
it.
It's okay. Okay. What I tried to say is I did my best I could really for him to be nice dressed and go to school, have the books and everything under control, and not to be killed behind that are just newcomers.
They were
children.
not deprived of anything.
Not,
The only thing
yeah.
we couldn't speak good, so we did the best we could. That's all.
They still make fun of us.
How
But-
do they make fun of it?
Well, they just listen sometimes, and sometimes I say, well, why didn't you correct me? You could correct me, but I would appreciate it really. But there are probably too many mistakes, so they just let it go like that. But he sometimes does correct me when I say something is not right, you know, not perfect. Not the grammar is
You're
just-
doing pretty
The
good.
grammar is killing me. And I don't think I
She's
will
a perfectionist.
ever learn the grammar.
And she,
I cannot understand why in the world. I just don't get it. Just there are a lot of people here. What they really they caught it really good and quick. And you wouldn't believe that they are from another country that are survivors.
you always have accent.
But I don't know. Well, you had to go to school. You had to learn, and I never had this opportunity. I never did.
What were some of the other challenges you had as a parent, having come from Europe, from the war?
What you mean challenges?
Any other things were difficult for you in coming to a new culture, new world?
Was very painful because I don't want to talk about it. I really don't.
Can you tell me what your first day in Atlanta was like? What did you see?
Other world.
You tell her about the Big Apple. When you went home with the bag, you didn't have.
Yeah, I did work really when Phyllis was little, and I didn't want to stay with her just at home. I wanted to have fun, to be with other children. We did was a daycare. How old was she? She wasn't old,
He was 2, 3 years old.
maybe something like that. And I went to work to Lavabo, Brazil. And I worked over there for quite a while. I don't remember, maybe 2 years or so.
No
I
more.
don't remember exactly. Maybe a little bit more. And I had a nice check. This helped me to, you know, this was right at the beginning when she was a little girl. And after work, went to Big Apple. Was it Big Apple or A&P?
Big Apple,
Big
yeah.
Apple. And I spent the money for groceries, so we had food in the house. I did always help. I really did always help.
Tell her with the bus driver.
Oh my goodness. I bought the groceries, went over there. Well, this is a book to write, really. I knew where to get off. And back, I didn't know where to tell him to stop. And I asked him I said, how far is it to the street what I wanted to get off? And when I asked him, how wide is it?
Vivat.
Vivat.
How far?
In-
She
in the
did not
man-
say far.
The man took me to the dead end, and then he brought me back. And finally, I got off in the place where I had to get off. And I had 2 bags of groceries. So what could I do? I couldn't carry them both. And I think I had Phyllis with me.
No.
No, I didn't have maybe Phyllis with me. So I took 1 bag at a time because they were heavy. I took 1 bag and walked half a block. And then I put down the bag and I went to get the other one. I'm telling
You
you,
make 16 trips, maybe.
till I got home with the groceries. Because was no car, was no transportation.
No car.
No, even had a car.
What exactly did you tell the bus driver in English?
I told him,
How wide is
How wide is it to the street or
How
whatever?
far is wide?
How-
In
I
Yiddish
couldn't
is
tell.
wie weit.
You see, when we moved in over the far road with this other family, we had a neighbor, and she asked the child is a boy or a girl or whatever. And I didn't know what she was talking about. We just didn't know it. Really, we didn't know it. Then later we had a teacher, who Mrs. Maya.
Maya.
No, Maya.
Maya Hart.
Maya Hart, I think. And then she moved out. She tried to help us a little bit with the
Yeah, we
language.
had
To
lessons. She
read,
came to our
to
the
read,
building
you
on
know.
11th Street.
To read but it was very hard. It was very hard because they write it different and they pronounce it different and it's just, you know, we're dealing now with the Sam's Club. This is silly to have on the record, really silly. And is a new woman, a druggist over there. She's the manager in the drug department. And her name is Cherise. And I couldn't CH. And Cherise, I would do it with the SH, Cherise. You know. And so I wrote down the way I understand to pronounce it Cherise. I won't make this mistake again. She's brand new over there. So I wrote down in Polish how to say Cherise. I don't pay attention what the English is. It's a CH in some, you know. So till now it's very hard. For me it's very hard. And Simon was more with, he was one with people. And I'm sure he can,
Didn't take
he
me long
knows the
to
grammar
catch on the
better
language.
than I do. But I always had really hard work.
Excuse me.
Mhm.
The Russian language, I caught on in 4 weeks. I spoke Russian.
And
Didn't take no time.
well, in Germany, I did catch up because it's close to the Jewish language, the
Yiddish,
German,
Yiddish.
to the Yiddish. A lot of words, they sound like the same, and I didn't have a rough time with that after the war. I could communicate with them, but with the English it's very hard for me.
English is a
But,
hard language.
I don't know if it is, because I see people who have no problem with it, but I do.
I understand you joined Sheriff Israel.
Yes, well,
What was it like when you first joined? What was the congregation
it
like?
was a small congregation, and now it's a lot of people, you know, big,
Who was
lot
the
of
rabbi
members.
in those days?
Mosman.
I think it was Mosman. There was quite a few of them during the years. This is the first congregation. Right away, we didn't belong. I don't know why, but right when we got here, we
Yes,
didn't.
like I tell you, I wasn't
Yeah.
Hasidic, I didn't care.
So, but later we knew that we have to go. This is what I saw at home, you know. You don't have to go to the synagogue. And we went. And since then we're there.
What did you think of the services when you first came? Were they, you come from a religious home?
No, not really religious, not really. But they went to shul during the holidays, you know.
In
They
Shabbos.
always went, in Shabbos was closed to business. We had a butcher place, butcher shop, how
Kosher.
do you call it? No, not kosher.
Half and half.
Not really. I don't think it was. Maybe, no, I don't think it was. But before people, you have to be really, really religious to buy kosher meat. They did buy, Jewish people bought this meat.
We had
we
kosher
sold.
in our house.
And I guess they bought it and that's it.
Never ate
This-
pork.
But we did like the holidays. Everything was just like in really religious homes, like Passover, different dishes and different
Kasher.
everything.
You know what kasher is?
You know what kasher is? You do? They were going from house to house, and so we did observe this. I know, this is what I remember. But about kosher, I don't remember. Maybe we did have kosher over there. A part of it was kosher. I don't remember even. I know we did use this what we was selling. So, so many years, for heaven's sake, I just really don't.
Do you remember your first impressions of Atlanta?
It was a different world, and it was unbelievable. I was in camp, and now I survived, and now we have to start. I have a family now. I got married, and it was nice. I was thinking that we were lucky that we survived. We are just gonna make somehow now.
Atlanta
So
is an overgrown country town. When we moved up here, it was
No.
600,000
Yeah, it was
inhabitants.
different.
Now it's 4,200,000.
Now it's unbelievable now when you leave. It was
This,
different.
this was the dungeon right here. After you passed back it, everything was country.
So, but now it's unbelievable. It's just some people move out really where it's not such a traffic to make it more comfortable. But
She said,
we
well,
did
I would
think-
like to move. She didn't want to move.
I'm now too old to move. There's a lot of work to move. I have a home, I'm used to it, and I'm going to move you know where.
How did you pick this neighborhood
How
to
I
live
wa-
in? How did you choose this neighborhood?
Well, we had many places till we got here, because when we first came, they gave us on far off this room with the other family. Later, looks like they wanted to sell this home, and they told us on the 11th Street was a
Sam
Oh,
Marcel's building.
Some cells.
He gave it
So
to
he gave us a room, and few families too. On every floor was another family from the newcomers. And we stayed over there maybe what, a year and a half, 2 years?
something like that.
Something like that. We had to move because they tore down the whole building for some reason. And we moved to Brookhaven because Brookhaven was not far away from the key shop what Simon was with that partner, and was a new little house. And this house had few rooms, and
Brand
we
new.
moved in, and we didn't had a hot water thing.
We didn't think of it.
We didn't think of it that we would have to have a hot water thing, right? Because at home was different, you know. There was no hot water things in the rooms and things like that. You had to heat the water on the stove and things like that. So we had to put this in. We had to put the heater too. Was no heater either, was it?
A furnace on the floor.
So in the hall, where you were walking all day through, you had to make over there a hole and have the heater to come out in the winter. Simon was excited, and I couldn't tell no because he was so excited. It's so close from the shop where he's going to work. So I said, okay. It was a new little house, but so many things they were missing. So we lived over there for quite a few. The whole house was maybe $17,000,
The $4,000, $4,200.
maybe I don't remember. I swear to God, I don't remember.
doesn't remember.
Well, so I know the note was maybe $33. $33
With
a
a
month.
second mortgage, then
The second mortgage was $11.
$11, right.
This I remember because I write the checks. It was 33 and 11, second mortgage. So the whole, but I don't remember how much the house
the
was.
second mortgage was for the
Yes.
hot water thing. I bought a hot water, I put it on the note.
It was unbelievable. And we stayed for a while, and then we moved.
I need a place.
Then we moved to Anita place. Kuliansky was the owner over there who was building, and this was closed for the children to go to school. And
The high school daughter. Morningside.
Morningside School.
Morningside. This Philly went to
Was-
Morningside. I
yeah.
forgot before.
And so we moved over there, and we had the empty rooms, the living room was empty for quite some time because I had no furniture over there. And that's the time when my sister came from New York, and I said, take the living room and do somehow.
Put
you
a
know.
sofa, she was her room.
You know. So we lived over there about 15 years. About
13.
40.
13.
Philly started college.
Grammar school.
College, you know.
In college, she has to be, how old is it? 19, 18, 16?
No, you finish grammar, then you go to high school, and after you
Go to
12
middle
years.
school and then 12 years.
12 years?
But
She went to Athens.
Athens, we still were at Anita place.
Right.
So she went to college to Athens.
When she started going to Athens, we bought this house. Because she said this house is too small, so I said, let's go buy a bigger one.
Because Steve is not too small. Steve was born, then he's 5 years. He's 5 years.
6
uh,
years.
He's in 55. She's in 48. So 6, 7 years, whatever it was. He's older. She's older, and she's not going to be in one room with him. We need the other bedroom. So we did. Don't answer, I have the thing over there. So I said, that's all what we have, and that's it. So we moved here because it was too small. She said, I'm not going to sleep with Steve in one room, and this and that. But we had a den. We could make a bedroom from the den, but everybody had a den. So I said, why should I make a bedroom out of the den? Anyway, we moved here. And in the meantime, we did make money, really. We worked hard. Simon, he was a likable man, and he did good business. And and I tried to save, and save till now. I'm still saving for the children, after we'll be gone, so they'll be well off.
For the grandchild.
And now the grandchild, I have to tell you about the grandchild.
Tell me
Because
about the grandchild.
she's $1 million. A million is nothing. She's cute, you can eat her up. She's unbelievable. We just love her.
You saw
But took us a long time till she was born. I was unfortunate. Phyllis particularly, she's still single. And Steve, he got married, and thank God I have a grandchild.
Do you want to say some words to your grandchild?
To my grandchild, that I'm going to give her all the money I have for her to be successful and educated and be a good girl.
We're going to make it fun
And,
for her.
For sure, of course. She's so cute. I wish you would meet her sometime.
Did you see her?
Who were your friends? Who were you friends with when you first came to Atlanta?
We did play cards, so there were a lot of them. But now
Bingo.
there are few. Like I said, we had to stay, take care of the children, and we couldn't really afford right away a maid but I wouldn't trust him anyway, because I had one maid and I think she was doping. And I told her, I slipped in one when I had to go help Simon in the grocery store. And I said, this doesn't be like that. Because the children was everything to us. We lost everything, So now the children, we had to take care of them and do the best.
Simon was saying
So-
that you used to have outings at Piedmont Park.
Oh,
Can you tell me about that?
I still have pictures every
Sunday.
Sunday, because Saturday got to work,
Part in the
Yeah.
morning, Sunday to the grocery store.
Piedmont Park, I have a lot of pictures,
Who used to
a
go?
lot of it. With all the neighbors over there,
All the
Yeah.
green.
a lot of them, they just, sorry to say, they're not alive anymore. There's very few left now. It's just unbelievable. I look through now pictures. I wanted to find something for you. Just Simon after the war. I have few pictures, but I don't know if it's the right thing or whatever. Right after the war, we didn't take no pictures. What for do you need a picture where we go in the swimming pool or we sit in the Piedmont Park? This is
Yeah.
not the kind of picture, you probably would like to.
That
Anyway,
is the kind of picture.
anyway, I have them, and I'm going to show them to you. If you think they're right pictures, you're welcome to have them. But I have, in this drawer, I didn't want to interrupt, make noise. In this drawer, I have a lot of them over there. So you can count on that. And
Whenever you want them, tell me.
what I can say, what can I say? I'm happy I have a good husband, but sometimes he can be mean, you know, like anybody else. But he's a good man.
I have a short fuse.
But he's a good man, and I love my children, and I'm crazy about this grandchild. And I hope for many more years. That's what I hope.
Whatever's left.
Pray to God. The clock is running. So we try to do the best, just to stay healthy and do the right thing, and maybe, you know,
Matter of fact,
to
I
be
got
lucky that we're still
this week.
alive.
I'm so busy. I got 2 or 3 more appointments with the doctors.
Yeah.
Well, let me say thank you to all of you for doing this. Thank you. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Well,